Now, this is what is going to make a delicious chicken fricassee. While preparing for this creamy dish, I read that the medieval French cookbook called Le Viandier mentioned this as early as in the 1300s. So this has a lot of history, folks. And I also read that chicken fricassee is also called a standard old-fashioned American dish, and it was one of Abe Lincoln's favorites. So what was good for Abe Lincoln is good for us. Now on to the main ingredient for this dish, which is chicken thighs. I have already washed them and patted them dry. We will now go ahead and fry them in extra virgin olive oil and some butter to give them a crispy outside. So now, while our chicken is frying, I will go ahead and cut our 3 nice vegetables into small pieces, an onion, 1.5 carrots, and a stalk of celery. And for those of you who'd like to see how I go about cutting these into fine little cubes, look at my video on lasagna. You'll see a nice description how to do that there. For this dish, we will just cut them up into bigger pieces. They don't have to be very, very thin. So I'll just go ahead and do that. This is how our chopped up vegetables now look like. I have 3 button mushrooms here, or rather giant button mushrooms. And for those of you who look up the comprehensive guide on how to clean your mushroom, they will read that you should not wash mushrooms because then they soak up the water and become soggy. And any dirt you see on the mushrooms can simply be brushed off with a mushroom brush and cleaned like that. So I'll just proceed to do that here. You can also use a damp towel, a damp kitchen towel to clean up your mushrooms. But they're good for me here with the brush because they're fairly clean anyway. So I'll just go ahead and cut them, take the last portion of the stalk off, just a little bit at the end here. And then cut them down into, because they're fairly big, in this case, I'll just cut them down. I'll quarter them, and then I'll 1/8 them, and maybe even 1/16. What a word. So maybe I'll just cut them into half because they're quite big. So I think that's good. To have them roughly this size is quite good. Okay, now we're done with our mushrooms. Before we fry the chicken, we will salt and pepper them on both sides. So there you go. And on the other side as well. So I have a pan here on medium-high heat. I will add about 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil and about 3 tablespoons of butter. Now add the pieces of chicken skin side down onto the hot oil butter mix and fry on the skin side for 5 minutes on medium heat. I simply cannot resist the urge to look at the browning skin. Flip the pieces to the other side and brown them also for 5 minutes. Now that the meat is evenly browned, I've taken them out and put them on a plate where they can rest until we need them again. Discard only about half of the oil in the pan and use the rest to fry the vegetables. So now this has been frying nicely for about 3 minutes. You can see that the vegetables have a nice color. I will now add, I have smashed and cut 2 cloves of garlic. I will add those now to the pan. Give it a slight heat for like 30 seconds until the garlic just about takes on some flavor. Like so. And we will then add our mushrooms. You can see how I cut them up like this. I'll add the mushrooms and fry them for a few seconds just to get some color. At this point, I see that my pan is rather dry, so I'll just add a little bit of vegetable oil to give it some extra fat. Now my mushrooms have taken on a nice color. I will now add 3 tablespoons of flour. And stir that. Now mix the flour nicely with the vegetables and the remaining fat. See that it doesn't burn. On medium to low heat. There now. Now I'll go ahead and add some white wine. I have half a glass of white wine over here. So you see that it very quickly thickens up and almost all of the wine is gone, either soaked up by the vegetables, the mushrooms above all, or just evaporated. Now you can see the beginnings, if the vapor lets you, the beginning of the roux, the white roux which we are going to make, which is the sauce for this chicken fricassee. And now I will add on, I have 3 cups of vegetable broth over here, which I had made earlier. I'll go ahead and add that into my pan. This is going to be our sauce broth base, where we'll return the chicken pieces later on too and cook it to the end. So scrape off any of the bottom of the pan to incorporate all the yumminess which is there. Now look at this. So I'll go ahead and put all of the broth in there. Now, this looks good. We will now add our chicken back into the pan, the one we'd fried earlier. Look at this. All of them. Together with any remaining fluid which might have been left over in the plate. Sorry, we just kept the chicken. Now I will add some lemon juice, just a little bit, because that's what a fricassee calls for. And sprinkle this with some parsley. Lay in 2 sprigs of thyme I have over here, 1 and 2. Just maybe stuff it in there so it can give off its aromatic flavors. And then we will cover the pan and let it cook on low heat for 25 minutes. Look at this beautiful dish. If you remember, I did not salt and pepper it apart from the chicken I did at the beginning, so I'm gonna go ahead and add some pepper and maybe taste a little bit to see if we need to add some salt or not. Salt's perfect, also from the chicken broth. Now, after 20 minutes, go ahead and add a cup of cream. And let this simmer on low heat for the last final 5 minutes. This chicken fricassee has now been cooking for a good 25 minutes and it's finished. Now look at the creaminess of this sauce, and it smells so delicious, I can't tell you. And I just tasted a bit of the sauce. It has a lemony taste to it. It's so rich, such a rich texture and so creamy. Absolutely great. And now we're gonna serve it. I don't know about you, but I can't wait to eat this. I'm taking a plate now and scooping one of those delicious looking thighs onto my plate. Take some of the heavenly sauce. Sprinkle with a bit of parsley. And now look at this. Doesn't this look amazing? Enjoy. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Leave me a comment when you subscribe. And take care and enjoy your meal.